look, this past Saturday in Las Vegas, Lerone Murphy might have taken the next step. The Brit added to his undefeated record, notching his sixth straight UFC win. However, this one's different. The name Edson Barboza has some pull. Guys, is Lerone Murphy now a legit contender? 14-0-1, but he's got Edson Barboza skin on the wall. Goes, your thoughts?
It's starting to look that way. It really is tough to say because, look, he's going through the progressions, he's climbing the ranks, and that was a pretty decent performance. I think he's shown us what he can do, but I think to really answer that question, you got to add a couple more skins, right? You start off with Edson, that's a decent one, but there's no looking back now, right? Like if you fight a guy like Edson Barboza, you got to keep going up, and that division can be tough, right? So right now, I'm going to say he seems like a very tough out. Could he be a contender? Yeah, I do feel like he is on his way to that. But I think there's like a difference between saying that somebody's a contender and then looking at guys that can actually beat the champion, right? And that's really tough. If you put those two fighters together right now, you'd say, I don't know that they're in the same ballpark. Can he get there? Possibly. But I think he's making waves. He's doing everything the right way. But there's no looking back now. You got to keep going forward and hopefully you can get those skins on the wall and get better as you go.
Sorry, Lerone Murphy. This isn't that segment, but it does sound like Goes isn't buying. How about you, Danny? You buying some Lerone Murphy stock or not just yet either?
I'm buying some Lerone Murphy stock. Not a ton of stock, but some stock. I do think he's among the best 15 fighters in the world. I feel like you have to beat Edson Barboza. Yes, he's not the Edson Barboza of old, of prime, but he's still a pretty legit guy. I mean, just look at the last two victories before that. I mean, he put it on Sadiq Youssef and knocked the hell out of Billy Quarantello, kind of proving like, he's still very much game in this sport. So yeah, Lerone Murphy, I think he's a top 15. I want to see him get tested now against somebody more his age. I think a Calvin Kattar would be amazing.
Ooh, that's a good one.
He goes. I think he has some potential. He is a very versatile fighter. He doesn't really stand out in a specific area, but maybe that can change in the next 2-3 years. At this age, at 31, I believe he is. These fighters are evolving super rapidly. So I'm buying some stock, but not putting all the bank on it just yet.
All right, so I'm going to tie in a comment from the chat with a follow-up for Fada. I want to know, who do you like for Lerone Murphy? And this is what Joseph Boza says. Does the panel think a top 10 contender will fight Lerone at 304, or does he wait a while to return? Because he is an actual, I think, what do they call it, Mancunian or something like that, from being from Manchester. What are your thoughts here, Fada? Is that a good chance to capitalize and shine, or should he just soak it up in his front row seat and let the division unfold?
I think it's going to be tough for him to get ranked opposition on the card. It wouldn't be. It depends, I guess, who it is and if that person's ready to go. I mean, Danny mentioned Calvin Kattar, and I'd recently watched an interview that Calvin did, and he said he's ready to go. He didn't take any damage against Aljamain Sterling. So, I mean, if he could get a Calvin Kattar on the Manchester card, that would be great. And I do believe Lerone, we're going to see more from him as the competition goes up. I mean, it was impressive for him to go 5 rounds. That was something that he didn't get the opportunity to do before. So outstruck Edson Barboza. He's a talented fighter. He's got a great story. I think there's a ton of potential when it comes to Lerone Murphy. So I would be excited to see him against. I think Calvin Kattar is a great shout from Danny because he is coming off such a tough, lopsided loss to Aljamain Sterling. But I know Lerone, as we see in the graphic there, can mix up his grappling. But I do think he would probably stand in trade with Calvin Kattar, and we'd see a fun matchup. Would Calvin be down to go to Manchester? It wouldn't really be a crazy quick turnaround. If he's saying he took no damage, 2 months, that should be fine. But I don't know if any ranked contender would take it. So if I'm Lerone, I think I'd wait, because if you're dying to be on Manchester, he might not get a fight that moves him up. And Edson's a big name, so you want to wait for the right opportunity at this point in your career.
Omnipolar 777 in the chat says, Danny Segura, hold my beer. Listen to this one. Murphy versus Diego Lopez.
Nope.
No?
Not about it.
You don't put 2 rising guys. No, yeah. I hate that.
And Diego deserves a veteran, right? Like he's beaten the young killers, right? As Sadiq Youssef, all these guys that are kind of that have a good skills but not a big name. I feel like Diego's prime for a big name. So just not yet. I think down the line that would be fun, but just not yet.
As a fan, that makes sense. But from a business perspective, I don't think they would do something like that.
It
Yeah, don't
got
get
me
me
excited
wrong.
when I saw it, but Fada makes a
It's a
good
fun,
point.
yeah, it's a fun fight. But why would you want to kill a rising contender? It just doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
At this point in time, just need an answer from one of you. Danny, Edson Barboza, is he just going to be a card filler, a gatekeeper, putting young talent over, respect to his career, exciting as hell, vicious KOs along the way, a lot of bonuses, but it does seem like that's his final run's over, right?
Yeah, this is it. I feel like towards the end, the change in division, he had some losses, but then he would get some wins. So he would kind of just do enough to stay alive as a contender, not thrive, but just kind of stay alive. But I think with this performance, we kind of just saw that ceiling just really get implemented. He's a good guy, good fighter, exciting fighter, great name. But as far as the title contender goes, yeah, this is it.